my dog is trying to get me to go get a dog. You know, remember we had an interview with a guy who wrote a story about a dog that died and was reincarnated and came back to the same family?
Yeah.
And then that dog died and came back to the same family?
Yep.
Well, I sometimes wonder that. I had a dog that lived for maybe 17 years, and she's no longer with me. She's the last dog I had. And I got her from a box outside of a Walgreens about a month after the previous dog had died. So the previous dog, named Mrs. Clute, that was her name, Mrs. Clute. Mrs. Clute died, and I was heartbroken. Oh my gosh, I was so sad, and I said, I'm never, ever, ever going to get another dog. Never, ever, ever. And then about a month later, I went to Walgreens, and there was a young girl sitting outside Walgreens with a box with 4 puppies or 5 puppies, whatever. And she said, would you like a puppy? I said, oh, no, I would like one, but I can't have a dog. No, thank you very much. And I went into Walgreens, and I could not stop thinking about this dog or those dogs. I could not stop thinking. So I said a prayer to God. I said, dear God, if you want me to have a dog, I'll flip a coin. If it's heads, then it's mine. So I reached into my pocket, and I had no coins. And I thought, oh, okay, well, then I'm off the hook. I don't have to do that silly little thing. All right. So then I go pay for my stuff. And the lady hands me my change, and a penny, I am not exaggerating, just somehow bounces off the counter onto the floor, and I am not making this up. It spun. It was spinning on the floor. And you know, I was the only one there who realized that I was taking this as a sign. So then I waited for the coin to land, to finish spinning, and it finished on heads. Mm-hmm. So I went outside. The little girl was still there. There were 3 puppies left. And she said, you can't have this one. Somebody else is going to come back and get it. I said, okay, well, that leaves 2 puppies. Well, one of them had a bolted eye. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's going to take some money. I don't have a whole lot of money. That's going to be a doctor bill I have. So I took the leftovers. I took the other one. And the other one stayed with me for 17 years. And then she died. How long ago did who die?
2 years ago.
So I took it as a reincarnation, and now, like the last week, we've had like 3 books about dogs to talk about. So I think my dog is giving me all these little hints. The Pet Lost Companion is the title of the book I'm referring to. Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio is on the phone. He's a family therapist, a health and wellness executive, a human resources leader, and I hope he didn't mind that I took up some of his time with my story. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Good. Good morning, Larry and Robin. Nice to be with you.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Massachusetts, where I live.
So when my dog had to be put to sleep, I hated it, but you know, it comes to that moment, and everybody tells you she's suffering. You gotta put her to sleep. So then, and so I did. And when I did, I went out to my car, and I could not stop crying. Now, if you were my best friend, I know you're a therapist, I still wouldn't have called you because I would have been ashamed.
Yeah.
I just drove. I must have drove around for 2 hours just trying to get rid of that feeling. But anyway, so yeah. So how does the book help? Would the book have helped me at that point?
Well, sure, it would have helped you. The book is an effort to extend the reach of a support group that I and a colleague would run. We would alternate running it every other week for people who'd lost a pet. And there's nothing like having support from other people. So you're right. Sometimes it's really hard to reach out, but it's a very good thing to do because there's just so much to be gained.
Yeah, but it happens. You know what the problem is? When you think, I don't want another one, and then you do. It's like you're lying to yourself. You do want another one, but you don't. You know what I mean? I think the fear of it dying is what stops you. The pain is so bad, right?
I think so. Grief is really hard. But, you know, the way that I think about it is that grief is the cost of having loved. And it's always good to have love in our lives and to move forward and love again. And that's what it's like. You have that tension about, should I go through this again? And, you know, some people actually decide they're not ever going to. But most people who have had animal companions will do it again. it's worth it.
And that seems a very, very healthy attitude to take, because you have to be able to come to terms with it yourself, because other people can just be sometimes insensitive to that. They'll say, no, an animal is just an animal.
Yeah, Robin, and the way that I try to think about that, and I give advice on that, is to assume that the other person is trying to be helpful. It's often very difficult for people to be close to another person who's feeling emotional pain, and so they say something that either tries to get that other person to stop feeling pain or to think differently about it. But when somebody says something like that, it's a good idea to go back to them and say, well, look, this was one of my very best friends, and if one of your very best friends died, would it make sense for me to tell you to just get over it, or maybe get a new friend?
Exactly. Touche.
You had a pet named Nero. Tell me about Nero.
Nero was a rat. He was a black and white rat, and he would sit on my shoulder when I was in college, and I would hand him up peanuts, and I would be studying. And I had him for about 2.5 years. Rats don't live very long, and he got sick. He got pneumonia, and I took him to the vet school. I was at Cornell University, and there's a vet school there. And I took him there and had to have him euthanized, ultimately.
Wow. How is it that you didn't become a veterinarian? I mean, I'm looking at your list of animals here. It says you've had dogs, cats, chickens, rabbits, cockatiels, finches, chinchillas, guinea pigs, turtles, mice, 1 horse, and 1 rat. Are you a vegetarian?
I was a vegetarian for 26 years, but I gave that up a few years back. But it's an interesting question, Larry, because I studied biopsychology, which is for people who can't decide what they want to do with their lives. And I worked as an intern at a veterinarian's for a summer.
Oh, you did?
And I decided, because I was pre-vet, actually, and I decided that it wasn't for me. It's kind of boring, and I needed more people stimulation, I guess.
And what you're doing with this book is that you're teaching people about what matters most in their lives.
Absolutely, and love and companionship and letting yourself feel what you feel is very important and healing. And so one of the things that I believe is that grief has a lot to teach us in that it opens up our feelings, and it helps us to know ourselves better, and at the end to learn that life is complex and that we can manage things even though they're painful sometimes. Grief gives us wisdom.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah. Grief gives us wisdom. Oh, my gosh. So I have to have a dog and have it die, and then I'm going to be a little bit wiser.
Well, you know what, Larry? It doesn't have to be a dog. By the time we're adults, we've had lots of losses. And it's part of life. It's part of life.
Yeah. Well, I could have a cat. I fell in love with my cat too. I cried when my cat died too. By the way, it's just I don't know why I focus. Unfair to the 2 animals up in heaven. I don't even know if they go to heaven. Dogs go to heaven. That's what the cartoon says.
That's right. I think so.
That's where I get my religion from, is cartoons. I found the book on Amazon, and you've got some really great reviews on here. I have the picture of the cover on the podcast. So if you're looking at the podcast, that's what it is. That's what it looks like, I should say. So I found that on Amazon. Do you have a website you want to reference us to?
Sure. My website is www.greengate, green the color, gate like in a fence, the opening, leadership, all one word, and .com.
Green Gate Leadership. That's a great name. GreenGateLeadership.com.
Thank you.
And you have a co-author as well, Nancy Saxton Lopez?
I do. Nancy and I did those groups. As I said, we would alternate. So she would do the group 1 week, and then 2 weeks later I would do it, and so on.
It looks like the book is doing really well too. Let's see, it's number 19 in pet loss category. Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, 93 reviews, 5-star average.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely good stuff.
Well, you're amazing. You help families cope.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, you obviously know how to address this topic really well. Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Great being with you both. Have a good day.
All right, that was fun. All right, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
People who made their career plans public were less likely to do research or take advantage of opportunities compared to those who didn't share their plans. If you enjoy trying new restaurants or taking trips to places you've never been, you may want to try picking up a real instrument soon because you might have hidden musical talent. Eat That Combination 1 hour.